Checklist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
What's going on, Steve? Surviving. I feel like I'm going through this cold, or whatever you want to call it, like all over again. Like it just started again. They get to the point where it kind of worked its way up my chest, and then it was like this, I don't get too much detail, this nasty, like lighter, phlegmy stuff that was even harder to get out because it was. And then, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. I was like, I feel like it's back in my chest. My chest hurts again, and it's like stuff that doesn't want to come out. And I was like, all right, I got to talk to your wife. Be like, is there something I can take? Because like it's been 3 weeks now, and this should be gone. And so she's getting me something like, I think it's an antibiotic to try, like, because I got to do something. It's been 3 weeks. And if I was like to go up the stairs quickly, they got to get my heart rate up. Dude, I can't breathe, and I got to get in a coughing fit. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I feel like my lungs are clear, but this morning I woke up, and granted I slept longer than I have, so
maybe yours is now like kind of become like a head cold thing.
Yeah, it's like in my head. Surely the audience can kind of hear it if they've listened to me. You know what I mean?
It's just crazy. I'm sick of this being sick thing. So, a lot of things to cover on the show today. A lot of like smaller headline things. But this weekend, so Friday, we went to the faculty-student basketball game. That was an awesome time.
Yeah, it just reminds you of why Newport's so much fun.
It was so good. It really was. I'm so glad I went. They just goofed around. It was just a great time. And then Saturday morning, we went to the FFA pancake breakfast.
Very good at the old courthouse.
Yeah, that was good. And try to get out, obviously, and support all the things we can anyways. And, yeah, they were good. They had good pancakes, and come with pancake sausage and a little piece of cantaloupe and like an orange juice or coffee, $10, and it's all going to FFA. So
yeah, it was a good cause. Good food.
It was. Excuse me. So on Steve Smith's show this morning, talked about the budget a little. Talked about, a bunch of different things, kind of like perspective, how it's changed being on the board now, and then from like perspective of just being a resident, or, your kids are in the school. It's not as easy. Nothing is easy and as simple as you think on the outside. So I talked a little bit about that, and then just like trying to get people to get involved. Tomorrow's the vote. It's supposed to be snowy and crappy, but I guess you can get an absentee ballot today if you go to the town clerk. So obviously you'd have to fill it out today and give it back to them. But if you're worried about the weather tomorrow, either way it will be there, because it is what it is. But supposedly we're going to get 12 to 18 inches of wet snow. Kind of hoping it just like changes and like turns to rain, but
that would be nice.
I'm sick of snow. I'm ready for spring. Like,
yeah, all my tulips, and I can see the buds coming up. And
yeah.
Well, the garden's
it was almost gone. Like the snow was almost completely gone, and then bam.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna get it again. It's like, ugh. So, anyways, tomorrow voting 8 to 7 at the high school. Please come out, support the budget. Very important, as like I said on Steve's show, the para contracts are in there. Currently, the starting para makes less than they make at McDonald's, like a lot less. And we have like 14 openings. You can't fill the positions when you don't,
Yeah, you got to be competitive with.
If you're not going to pay your employees, they're going to go somewhere else or do something else. And, they have kids and lives and bills too, and you can't pay that for $12 an hour or whatever.
Right.
So this will help us become more competitive with area schools. And then also there's a high school teacher, two. There's an English and a math. There's a CTE teacher, bus driver. So there's a lot of stuff in the budget that's like, it's not waste. It's straight. Like, we need this. We have 32 kids in the whole high school that have full schedules, which is very mind-blowing. So about 10% of the kids. And the reason we've been told is because they don't have enough classes the teachers are doing what they can do for classes. They need teachers to do more classes, and so crazy stuff. But please get out, vote for me and Jen, even though no one's running against us. You never know, someone could write somebody in, but
There is an open position.
there's an open position on the board. The
For that.
SAU has the paperwork. You just got to fill it out
Little questionnaire, and then come to the school board meeting.
on the 13th, I believe it was. You have to have the paperwork in, I think, the 10th, I think we said. But the SAU would know, obviously, for sure. Yeah, so there's that. Like, it's funny because I go on, like, what's up, Newport? Actually, Bert called me over the weekend, and he's like, hey, Donna just called me, and it was like, stuff on What's Up Newport. And I looked, and I was like, I didn't think it was as bad as it seemed, but it basically was just, a few people complaining about, I can't find the information for voting. And then, like, we have the annual report, and, like, you find it, but the sample ballot's the last page. And, like, people complaining, like, oh, it's like they made it hard to find. I'm like, all right, you have a responsibility as a citizen to be an educated voter, okay? It is not the responsibility of the school, the town, or anybody to come read it to you or hold your hand and do it. Like, you have a responsibility as a citizen.
What's one of those things, though? It sounds like they're jumping to conclusions where a normal response might be, hey, next time maybe put the ballot up front.
Right. But and if you look at the book, which they did a great job, and it's just a progression of,
Right.
information, and then, like, that kind of stuff, and then the budget itself to show the differences and stuff. And the last page it's all there. I mean, is there any such thing as, like, the first page is more important than the last page? Like, well, no, it's all important. Like,
You should read it all, but yeah.
and it's all on the SAU's website.
But I mean,
so-
but you know what I mean? There's nothing nefarious.
No. I told Steve Smith, I was like, yeah, listen, I'm like the conspiracy guy. Like, I live this life. Like, with the show, we constantly are seeing stuff. And, yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy stuff, but it's typically more at the big stage, right? The national stage, because there's so many more hands in the pot, and it's money involved, so nothing's ever, like,
Right, as it
on the up
seems.
and up. Yeah. But I'm like, there's nothing... Like, legit, anyone can ask me why I voted for something, and I'll tell you 100%. Well, this is why, and this is the information I had. And sometimes we maybe make a vote, and then after we're like, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But that's just being human,
Yeah.
right? But I can always back up what there's no secrets. So as far as that goes, no, there's no secret plot. Like,
the only secret is like discussing
right. There's contracts and, like, personnel things that
things that
yeah, that happens in secret, which it's just how it works. But yeah, it's done on the up and up. It's in front of everybody, and yeah, so there's nothing secret going on. The budget's the budget.
No, I mean, I in the 5 years or so that I've lived here, this is the most transparent, and part of it is because but the school has taken it and broken everything down line by line, so you can see exactly how much
Yeah,
each school gets, and then the administration, and it's been explained over 4 different meetings, I want to say, in the last 4 or 5 months, just exactly why they consolidated what at the headquarters. And it makes sense, and if it didn't, we ask questions, and
this is why, like,
but you know what I mean. But if you don't participate or
exactly
or follow along with it, it's hard. It's kind of selfish to be like, well, why isn't this easier? Which I get also because they hired us to do that. But at the same time, the front page versus the last page, if that's the biggest complaint, I think we're doing pretty good. You know what I mean? But like I said at the beginning of this conversation, like, just let us know. Like, why you gotta accuse people of?
And all you have to do is go to a meeting, watch a meeting. Like,
Tell us then. Tell us what you want.
Like, we want people to show up.
Yeah, like
I mean, you and me are, like, the biggest advocates for that ever. Like, we say it on the show, we said it there, we, like, constantly, like, show up, show up, show up. Like, we want informed people, because misinformed people then spread rumors and things that aren't true. And I see it all the time, right? It's like, that's not true.
And it also, because you might be a parent that you think that you're alone in something that your
Right.
kids experienced or noticed or having a problem with, But if you go speak out, you might encourage others, because then it'll make it into the minutes. It might make it around town, and then somebody else hears about it. Like, you know what? That happened to me. And then they show up or send an email.
Right. Exactly.
And then that's how change gets made, is one person speaking up and saying, have y'all noticed this? Because there might be something that no one knows about other than one teacher in a classroom that may be making a mistake that no one knows about.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, it's definitely.
And it can be fixed with bringing it up. Because, like, I mean, we deal with it too. I mean, we make mistakes too. Like,
yeah, everyone makes mistakes, and it's not. You always can call SAU anytime and ask questions, and they'll try to get you the answer.
the town will tell you the same thing, even when we complain about the town, and they are pretty good about answering and talking to you. It's just,
hey, you might not always like the answer you get, but that's not the point of government. The transparency part is for them to tell you why. So maybe I disagree with that completely, but if they tell me why, they did their job. When they try to keep it a secret or give you a runaround, that's what people don't like, because that's not how it's supposed to be. But we're straight up, like, you have questions, ask questions. If we don't have the answer, we'll find someone who does have the answer. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Try to.
It's tough, too, because I was telling Steve, I was like, yeah, you know, the difference, too, with the budget was, like, last year's budget, it was like $750,000 we got from the state because of the free and reduced hot lunch. But this year, we lost, like, $300,000 out of it because that changed, so less people fill the form out or whatever. That's hard to work around. Like, that's $300,000. That's, you know, well, where do I find it? So it's crazy, you know. And he was selectman for 3 years. He's like, yeah, I'm not running again. He's like, I did my thing. I'm, you know, and so he totally gets it too. And he's got that perspective now of kind of going in and trying it, and then he's like, man, three of us would agree on something, like all agree. And they have a 3-person board, and then why is it taking so long for this to happen? And all these little things, like government works slow. And trust me, I struggle with that more than anybody, because I'm like, oh, problem? Yep, cool, fix it, boom, done. School's like, oh,
yeah,
like, why?
You and Bert, like a businessman, even like when you hear people stand up at ours or the town meeting, if they run their own business, they totally expect, like, you have said it, therefore it is so. Why isn't it so? And it's like, well, you got to go inform the state, and they got to retract this, or what, you know, whatever it is. But it's never as simple. Like, sometimes it is.
More hands you get involved, the harder it is. Everybody's got their hand out, right? Like, everybody's got something. And I was telling them too, I was like, yeah, the hardest thing too is we got all these mandates. People don't know about mandates, and that's the federal government or the state says, you will do this. Oh, okay. Does it come with some money? So, because it's not free to do what you want us to do. No, you will do this. We will legally make you do this, but we're not going to give you any money to do such a thing. So then it's like, oh, now I have to find money in a budget that's already tight to do something they want me to do without additional funding coming in to do it. So it's not like do this and here's the money to do. No, it's just do this. And so it's like, okay. We ask our teachers to do more and more and more, and it's like,
it's not fair.
And to what end? I mean,
yeah, they did it in the military. Yeah. I'm not going to ask you to do more with less. Yeah, that was our mantra for a month. They told that lie, and then you're like, so you lied, and so then if you have morals and values and standards, and you have high-ranking people standing up lying to large groups of field grade officers. So they'll commit to lies. But every organization, trustworthy or not, like, and you know it's a lie. Like, you hear it and you're like, that's not how the military works. You get the job done no matter what. Then to sit there and say, hey, we know that we're going into austere times and we're not going to ask you to do, you just got to figure it out and come up with smarter, simpler ways. It's like, oh, so now I need to be a engineer of some kind to fix your problems that you created at the higher level. So yeah, I am going to have to do more with less. You know what I mean? It's like you can work your way through the logic before they even finish the speech or whatever, and then you get disappointed. You don't want to work for liars.
No.
You know what I mean? Because like, you know that that's not true. I know at my rank that it's not true. You're, however many ranks above me, and you're still spouting this. You know better. So anyway, that's my issue with a lot of things is just be honest.
Honesty goes a long ways. You don't see much of that anymore. It's unfortunate, but so yesterday we went to Lebanon at the Fireside Inn. They're doing this like big, like baby clothes and children's clothes and stuff like that too, like a kind of swap thing or yard sale, whatever you want to say. I don't know. So you're just like, hey, let's go up, check it out, just because, a lot of times there's new stuff, whatever. Then see what they got, whatever. So I went up, check it out, and I couldn't believe there's only like one or two, but just some like rude people, like walk in front of you or like kind of push you out of the way in a way, like just kind of. And it wasn't like chaotic or anything. It was just like I don't know.
Like the world exists for them, and
yeah, and then. So we did that whole thing, and we went to Chili's after for lunch.
There are more than 4 tables open.
Yeah, it actually wasn't too bad.
Nice.
And then
that was Applebee's where we had that.
Yeah, Applebee's. Yeah, and then Lydia's like, "Can we go to BAM, just a bookstore?" I was like, "Well," I said, "Why?" Obvious answer, to get a book, but I was like, "Well, are you gonna read it? Because I'm not gonna buy you a book and you not read it." So we ended up going over, and she got 2 books, and because obviously I don't mind buying her books if she's going to read them, right? So then we went back, and I had a paper I had to get to Bert, and so Andrew went with me, and we went to Shaw's, and I had the Mini Cooper. So we went in, got a few things, and come back out, and then so I pull out of the parking spot. And I was like 3 spots like from the front or whatever. So I pull out, and I pull up to then turn left and leave the parking lot or whatever. And this a-hole comes in a Ford Bronco. He's like cuts through the parking spot to the left of us, and then he wants to park like straight through me in the first spot, but he's like right in my way to like I can't turn to like, and then he actually like signals for me to back up so that way he can get to the parking spot. And I'm like,
no, tell me you didn't.
I just kind of sat there, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? So then
like he's in the wrong, and then to hand motion you,
and then he's looking at me
he needs
like,
to have his fingers broken. Anyway,
and he's looking at me like I'm some sort
not
of
really, but
asshole, because like I'm literally doing.
You're doing the right thing.
I was doing what I
You're
was supposed
following
to.
the rules.
Yeah, and he's like cutting through the parking spot, and there was like 3 spots there. It wasn't not like a challenge of cars to get to it, and I was like, what the hell? So then, ironically, he gets in that spot, and then we go over to the Dollar General, and I sit in the car, and Andrea went in because we needed pull-ups, whatever. And then the dude's behind her in line, so he must not even went in Shaw's. He must park there for, and Andrea's like, yeah, he's like getting air freshener or something, and I guess Andrea gave him like the dirtiest freaking look ever or whatever. I'm like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, has everybody lost all like?
No, they don't have any respect for other people's. Like that's the weird thing, right? So during the whole ramp up, it was you were told to do this for other people, and then you have that happen, and like, why should I care about this guy?
Yeah.
Like he can't follow basic rules like that, and you're going to try to make me feel guilty about whether this guy rebreathes my air or not.
And this dude's definitely one of the ones that's going to steal all the toilet paper.
Oh, he's definitely a COVID hoarder.
Yeah, he's definitely taking all that.
So he, for all that, to like cut through the parking lot and end up at...
And then still end up over there.
Crazy.
I don't know. I was caught off guard because I was like... Because a lot of times the kids will say something that happened to them. And I'm like, well, you're just being sensitive because I've also seen that where I'm like, you seem like, that doesn't seem... But now I'm starting to think, maybe this happens more to the kids than I know. Because look, I mean, just one day we're out, you have like rude people up in lab, and then you have this guy which took the cake. Like he was really like,
hey, I'm a tit for tat. Like you cross me, and then I'm not, because I'll go out of my way to be polite and kind and help anybody. But then once you you're breaking the law, and then you're going to signal for me to back up so that you can continue your law violation. No, not happening. Like, I don't care about anything to do with you.
I hear you. I was just caught off guard.
It goes back to like how I'm always like, how do these people have friends? If they're going out and they're doing this and they're knowingly doing something wrong and lying or whatever else, like, how do you feel good about yourself? And then when your friends find out that you're a fake journalist writing for a fake newspaper and all you are is really an ad writer, you don't even realize it. Like, how do your friends not realize it and say, you're just a ad writer? You're repeating, and you're limited in what you can say and the truth that you can tell. You can only tell or, FBI, cops, state troopers.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it applies everywhere. Like, that just... Maybe that's probably why I have no friends. People don't want to be friends with me. They listen to what I have to say, and they're like, yeah, forget that guy.
Yeah, but
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so you're not the one driving through the parking lot and then asking people to back up so you can get in the spot. Yeah.
No, I'm the one that realizes that if somebody's outside walking, whether it's hot or cold, I am in the confines of a vehicle. I can sit here for 10 seconds while they walk through the treacherous, wet parking lot, snowy parking lot, 100-degree parking lot. But other people, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, they won't stop for you, and you're in the crosswalk even, and it, like, Shaw's, and it's like, you're in that much of a rush.
People just need to, like, slow down and remember, like...
But, think about other people.
Some common decency, courtesy, yeah.
Yeah, like, really think about other people, because you're not going to guilt me because I know the truth. It's a matter of convenience of what you're...
Yeah. Nuts. So there's a handful of openings available for members of the community to enroll in the LNA certification course at the Sugar River Valley Regional Technical Center. Classes start this Thursday, though. So if you want more information, you can call the Tech Center or email khow@sau43.org. I think Andrea originally did her LNA through there, and when she was in school. Anyways, if you're looking for that, reach out.
Or you know someone.
Yeah, I think there was 5 openings left, it said, as of this morning. So,
always a need for LNAs.
Always a need. This Friday, Stephen had kind of talked about it at a board meeting too, but 6 o'clock at the Opera House is the 3rd annual music coffee house. So I think he said 15 students or whatever. Some band concert. And I know Thursday, Lydia will be over at Stevens for a big concert over there, like about 170 kids from Stevens, Newport, Unity, maybe Fall Mountain. I don't remember all the details, but that was pretty cool. So
there'll be 100 and something of them up on stage at one time at some point.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know how it's all going to work, but yeah, so that's pretty cool. So, Friday night, especially if you're 6 o'clock at the Opera House, if you're looking for something to do and you want to support the kids at the school, there you go. The other thing, too, I saw was like a save-the-date thing. Discover Wild New Hampshire Day. It's April 15th. And it's live animals, hands-on activities, and more. It's at the Fishing Game headquarters in Concord from 10 to 3. And it doesn't cost anything. So just definitely check that out if you're...
Get to know your local wildlife.
Yeah, I know your wildlife, know the Fishing Game.
You are coughing quite a bit this morning. This is more than you coughed on the shows combined last week already.
I feel it in my chest. It's like, ugh. All right, so let's talk about that story that you just kind of mentioned. So it's kind of long, so I'm going to have to I just want to kind of...
Where'd you find that story?
All right, so the story was on Facebook, and someone shared it to me. And then I guess also the union leader did a story about it. So there's a longtime Wolfboro resident. His name's Gary Brockney. He has a John Deere Gator, so it's like a side-by-side, and he has it registered, so he has a license plate on it, and I guess inspection. And
so that means it has like basic road.
Yeah, so
it's got blinkers.
Yep. So
mirrors, headlight, tail light.
Yeah, so it has everything to drive on the road. Even though like some places, for instance, Croydon has, you can drive an ATV provided it's registered on certain roads in Croydon, but you can't go like on the state roads. So like the Turnpike, which is a side road, but it's the state road, you can't drive that on there. Now, however, in this capacity, where it's registered with a plate and inspection, and the gentleman has insurance due on it, you can.
Within but it's still only a certain
distance, and there's some things.
There's some caveats to it.
There's a few things, like if you have a farm, there's X amount of distance you're allowed, and then if you have like, what was the other thing? Was like a commercial business, so there's a few different things.
Right.
So I guess since 2013, he's been registering this, driving it on the road. It's been,
no issues.
No issues. Well, this year he went to register it, and for some reason can't register it. And I said, well, why? Because I've been doing this right along. I don't understand why I can't register it. And it took apparently a lot of time for this to all come together and figure it out. But so back in January, on the 30th, he went to register it, and when he was told he couldn't. And then I guess there was 2 times that he was stopped by this trooper, Walensky, and he pulled him over and said, you can't drive that on the road. So, Mr. Brockney said, why? Cite the law, which I can't do it. And trooper didn't do it, didn't give him a warning, nothing. Just
didn't give him a ticket.
Nope, just you can't do it. So then, short time after, his wife, same thing, pulled over. This time, cop turns around, light siren, same trooper.
But came barreling at her, as
yes.
She described it, I think, in the article.
Like came barreling at her about it. So, same thing, no ticket, no fine, just you can't do it. And then supposedly that trooper wrote a letter and sent it to like the DMV about this, like, hey, this shouldn't happen, whatever. So he obviously asked the town clerk, like, why? No answer. Then he gets hold of executive counsel, Joe Kenny, and Joe basically gives him the number for the director of the DMV. He talks to the director of the DMV, and they're like, no one's kind of really sure what's going on. And then he gets a call finally on Thursday, February 23rd. He receives a call from the Department of Safety Commissioner, so above the DMV, Bob Quinn. And according to Brockney, Quinn told him, I'm going to approve your registration for your vehicle, but you have to promise me to remove all your political signs from it. Additionally, you must keep them off. If you put the signs back on the vehicle, the registration will be suspended. So apparently this whole time, that's what it's all been about, because he had some Trump, like pro-Trump signs on it, and some other candidates, a Republican or whatever. And so in our very own state, New Hampshire, his freedom of speech is being violated. It's illegal.
By a police organization.
Yep.
Policing organization.
Yeah. So by the DMV, by the trooper, pulling him over and telling him he can't do it, even though there's no cited RSA. Clearly, if he couldn't do it, the trooper would give him a ticket or something. But the fact that he doesn't proves that he's obviously not violating the law, because it's a trooper's job to say you're violating this law. It just doesn't exist. So then it gets political. It goes to, oh, well, if you promise to not put signs on it, it's okay. So apparently this vehicle is safe for the road, provided the signs aren't on it that they don't like. So his First Amendment rights are being violated. And
apparently.
And this is an older gentleman. I mean, I see a picture and stuff. He looks, he's probably in his 70s.
I mean, the audacity of a state trooper getting angry over somebody's political leanings.
Yeah.
What country and what state are we in? It's like clown world. The audacity of people thinking that, like, I see bumper stickers that, I would never put on my car because I, try to protect the value of my car. But, I mean, there's some ridiculous bumper stickers out there.
Yep.
But not once am I sitting there thinking to myself, you know what? I don't want to look at these anymore. Let me go ahead and send a letter in to get it to where they can't register their car.
Can you imagine?
So I don't have to look at it.
But can you imagine?
I mean, the hatred you must have for politician, in this case, obviously Trump,
Right.
it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like, we make fun of, the resident and chief right now, but
But if you were a person with a side-by-side that legally could ride on the road, I would never
I would laugh.
send a letter saying,
I would laugh
don't
if
renew
you
your
had a bunch
registration.
of,
Right.
commie signs on there. I'd be like, poor guy, don't realize that they're in America and they're going to lose.
Yeah.
Communists will not win in America. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to, these people, the audacity to think that you can.
But for those that think that everything's great here in New Hampshire and nothing, small state, and everything's on the up and up, and I assure you, not the case, not ours. I just can't believe this.
And like we always say, I'm sure there's a third side. He could have had a Trump flag that was whatever, but you would think if they pulled it over, they'd say, "Hey, do you think it's safe with a flag?" I'm just thinking right outside the box here. Like,
No, there's a picture of his gator, and like the
is there?
signs are on
I
the
didn't see
side,
the
and
picture.
like they're on the side and stuff. It's not.
those like placards, like on a
Yeah, it's like the little
Business.
things you put out.
like where it says beard, sewer, and drain,
Yeah.
except it's attached to it instead of
Yeah.
stenciled on.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's uncalled for. That's not.
And these aren't young kids racing up and down the road or doing anything like that. It's not the case,
Hey, I've been targeted by a constable when I was a kid in a golf cart, so this is right up my alley of, see?
I'd just be curious to see if anything actually is going to happen out of this. I doubt it.
I don't understand how no one faces consequences for. I'm not looking for, like, that don't necessarily mean people need to be fired, but, like, you should be reprimanded.
Yeah, this guy is, I guess,
And, like, rumors should make it out about the reprimanded. You know what I mean? Like, it should be, like, there should be no doubt if you're doing something like this. Like, that state trooper needs to be reprimanded for the audacity to think that anybody's politically leanings, no matter which way they lean. I mean, that was my whole point of my diatribe earlier. It doesn't matter.
right. It's just, and Quinn could say that conversation didn't happen, but I got to be honest with you, like, he's an elderly man. He owns a haircutting business in town for 25 years. I'm going to side with him. Just because.
Yeah, what reason does he have to lie?
And he agreed to do it, and the guy approved his thing. So please explain to me then why that happened at all. So, interesting.
There's not supposed to be any litmus test.
No.
Like political
Yeah.
party. It's just.
What's next? Go register your car and has a Trump sticker on it or a Biden sticker on. They're going to tell you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people will judge you.
Sorry, you
Like,
can't register it.
it's. Yeah. I know for a fact because I had a.
And that had to be done at the state level.
I was given, like, I didn't pay any money for it or whatever, but I had a Make America Great Again hat.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say anything about Trump, right? But it was one of the red ones. It was on top of my fridge. And I forgot that it was up there, because, like, somebody giving it to, actually, I think, like, Nikki at work or whatever, like, somebody was just because she worked at a local health clinic. And somebody walked through handing them out. So it was on my fridge. And I caught, like, once I realized, like, because there were people over at my house, and then, like, they were all having a conversation about what a piece of garbage I was for having that in my house. And I'm like, really? Like, yeah, I get it because I was in the military or whatever, but like I tossed it on top of the fridge. I didn't even know you could see it. But I just thought it was funny that they would be that, like, childish. Because it wasn't about, oh, he's a bad candidate. It became about me. Right? Like like personal attacks on me, my wife, whatever. with my family. It's like, people are horrible. I see a Bernie Sanders bumper sticker and I chuckle about how, that was never going to happen because that was rigged against him. But you know what I mean? It's the same stuff. It doesn't matter which party.
Yeah. It's totally messed up. But another New Hampshire story. So Concord, and we kind of talked a little bit about this with Therese when she was on, but there's a father in Concord who felt like his daughter, I believe his daughter, was, so there's this teacher at school, art teacher, that went back and forth dressing as women's clothes, men's clothes kind of thing, and it's upsetting to the dad because he's confusing my kid, just teach, right? You're a teacher, just teach. I don't care what you do at home, whatever, but you're supposed to be dressed.
Some stability for the kids.
Yeah. So somehow, from the story, I guess it seemed like from the way the story was said, anyways, was this teacher was kind of harassing the dad in a way too. Probably once he was offended by it, then he kind of was putting a show on kind of thing around during pickup. So then the teacher gets a restraining order, and then which was later dropped, obviously, because they're well, there's no founding for this. So, anyways, he goes to he does all the steps, right? Department Ed reaches out to them for investigation, because in the meantime there was stuff they found on Twitter that this teacher had put on, back in 2017, but they were in college at the time, or whatever, and it was just things that were disturbing, like picking up boys 101 and other things that were just okay, you can say that because you can say anything as a person. Like me and you can say anything, right?
Free speech.
Free speech. And I support that, and I have no problem with that. However, if you do creepy things, and now you're a teacher, and then there's issues coming up at school, about what you're wearing and whatever.
Well, it becomes relevant at that point.
It becomes relevant at that point. So, kind of all ties in. So he goes to a school board meeting, and now it's getting national worldwide news. And honestly, I think it's pretty clever. So the dad shows up to school board meeting, and he's dressed as Julius Caesar, Roman attire, and says, and I got a little video I'll play. It's only a minute long. I'm Caesar and I'm a female, and who here believes that, right? And because it's ridiculous, because you're just confusing these kids, you're screwing with these kids. I don't think the dad necessarily cares. He doesn't care if you're gay or not gay or whatever, but you're at school, you should be acting professional, and you shouldn't be switching back and forth with women's clothes or whatever. And so let's play. Like I said, it's a real short clip, but this is Michael, who's the dad of Concord Christian McCullough School, and he's obviously upset about what's happening at his kid's school, like many of us have been. So check this out.
I am Caesar, Julius Caesar of Rome, the emperor. I am also a female. Does anybody here believe that I am Julius Caesar? Anybody believe that? No? Of course not. It's ridiculous. I'm not Caesar. I'm not a woman either. I'm here as a father who loves his children, who loves his country. And I'm here to talk about this duty of a school board and the Department of Education. Your duty is to act in the best interest of children. It is to teach truth, not lies, facts, not fiction, biology, not a social agenda. As taxpayers, we deserve to have our children taught what we pay for, and it's not anyone's social agenda, whether it be right or left.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I thought it was unique, because at first I was like, why are you doing that? I felt like it took away from the story, but then I kind of realized, wait a minute, he's actually making it better, and he's actually become relevant now, because it's kind of ridiculous, right? Hey, I'm Caesar and whatever. But his point is, you can say whatever you want, but it doesn't make it true. You can say, you now need to call me, whatever. I'm a female. doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it real just because you want to believe it and play along and act, along these lines. So supposedly with the investigation, the school found no cause for alarm, which in today's day and age I find interesting because I looked at the tweets and stuff and I was like, I don't know. That'd be an awful close eye. Because now, if anything, now the school has totally opened themselves up. And this could be a great person. I don't know this person at all. No clue. Never had a conversation with them, anything. They could be a great person, right? But if anything was ever happen now, the school just totally opened itself up to liability because you were informed of the situation. You supposedly investigated it, but found like, oh no, we fully support this teacher. And now, if anything was to happen, like, you have a leg to stand on because they're going to be like, well, you were warned. And there was comments and stuff made on the Twitter thing that were like, it seems really creepy, not just, okay, you like men. Okay, that's cool. I don't care what you do on your own, right? But kind of like towards children.
Like the Twitter guy that wrote his college paper, or wasn't it about, I don't know, there was something with story. Joel Roth, I don't know, like some inappropriate, like not normal for society to be talking about school-age kids, whether it was a joke or it was his paper, but it was something that was like, that's not okay.
Yeah, it's not, like, what are you doing? I don't know. So, of course, there's people in the background, love wins and all this stuff. And I'm like, you people don't make no sense at all. Like, this is about protecting kids, first of all, and not confusing kids. Because this isn't like a high school teacher. This is elementary school.
Their purpose is to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Exactly. Keep your social politics out of it.
It's like the military, social... Yeah. It's just a big experiment. Like I told you, they put so much social training on the calendar that you can't actually train for war. Like you can, obviously, but you spend more time training for social justice programs than you do. At least that was the case years ago. I mean, they did like a study, how many hours it took to do all the required training that Congress requires of the Army, the military. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it used to be train to fight to kill. Now it's like train to be socially aware. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. We're
at a tipping point. It feels like that.
Yeah, we're so weak as a country
at some
now.
point, like
you have soldiers walking around now in dresses, and people are appointed.
And it would be a lie to be like, oh, I'll follow that person just as I would anyone else. Would you, though? I mean, like, if you're being honest, like, now, somebody who's never been in the military will be like, yeah, they're people. Yeah, I got it. They're people, and I'll treat them with dignity and respect, but they're not instilling confidence in me to go take a hilltop because...
Okay, but the head of Health and Human Services or whatever is a male dressed as a woman who's obese.
Yeah, well, have you seen like all the health ministers or the head health? Like they're all obese.
All
like
over the world, yeah.
Yeah, all around the world. They're like they. I'm telling you, they do that kind of stuff so that you're sitting there and you're like, all right, well, why am I gonna like? It's you need to get in shape. Like the best thing that you can do is not take medicine, is to exercise, get sunlight. Maybe some supplements. Talk to your doctors, obviously, but like. Living a healthy lifestyle and slimming down, there's a reason for that. Reducing the amount of Franken foods you ingest. There's probably not much nutrition in Fruit Loops. As much as I love the taste when I was a kid, and now I can't eat them because there's like a film that gets on your tongue or the roof of your mouth, so I can't.
Captain Crunch is the weirdest. That's like, I like Captain Crunch, but then I like...
It's got that non-nutritive...
Something weird about it.
That's from Christmas Vacation, but that's basically what it has. Like it prevents the milk from getting in there. It never gets soft.
Yeah, it's.
Excuse me, sorry about that.
It's weird.
Anyway, I digress on all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day,
I don't know how I went from military orders to,
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch, but it's all, it's all fake. It's
Actually,
like fake food. It's fake. Like that's not like they teach you like leadership. Like they're. And again, I'm not saying anything about them personally because I don't know them. But if I were new to a unit, and I'd be like, what is going on here? Like the world is upside down. Am I the only one that can tell that that's like me with my widow's peak with long hair? You know what I mean? Like you're balding in the back, but you know what I mean? Like and I'm not trying to be mean,
but it's just the hypocrisy
it's
of it all.
mean to think that like we don't notice.
Right.
Like you're perpetuating a lie. For what? To what end?
Think about it, Steve. Like, you shouldn't have guns. We need to take your guns. We can't trust you with guns. Brought to you by the same people that think your 8-year-old should be able to get a sex change because they know what's best for them.
But they can't get a tattoo because they don't know what's best for their skin, but they do know what's best for their...
Like, the left doesn't even know what bathroom to use or what pronouns to use, and they're all, worried about that. Yet, they think you and me, like, we can't trust those people.
Here's my whole thing. Like, they, them is plural. So I'm supposed to throw out 46 years of my life of learning and being able to learn how to communicate on that because this gives you something to feel special about?
Right. Yes.
Like, you ever read an article where someone prefers to be called they, them? Like, by the time you get to the 4th or 5th sentence, you've forgotten that you're talking about one person, and now you think you're talking about a group of people, and you're not. You're talking about one person.
Well, mental disorder, they probably have multiple personalities.
Could be. Possibly.
So, there's a few things, like, this happened last week, but Jane Fonda is just murdering pro-lifers as a way to push her pro-choice agenda. And then later says, of course, she was joking. And I have the video. It was only, I don't know, like it's a minute-long little clip thing. But, of course, everyone, once they heard her say it, it's like, oh, she's joking. But if you look on her face, she's kind of like, not really. It's funny because, can you imagine
How is she still relevant? How are, like...
She's not relevant. That woman's a freaking piece of
you're
trash.
talking about it on this show. Like...
Well, the only reason I brought up on this show is to show the hypocrisy of the left, where if that was a Republican, they'd be calling for the execution of that person for saying such horrible things, and this woman will get another pass.
Here's the hypocrisy: is calling soldiers baby killers back in the 70s.
No, that was her.
And now advocating
for murdering babies.
Well, no, well,
yeah, she's pro-choice.
Well, yeah, well, she's advocating that, but she's also advocating. So she's advocating the murder of babies, and she's also advocating the murder of those claiming to want to save the babies, which is what she was claiming to do in the 70s, right? She's trying to save babies from the murderous soldiers, and now she doesn't care. I don't know. It's just a whole...
And she's on...
I mean, she has a platform as the issue, and it's like they do that kind of stuff just to rile people up. That's why I don't have TV anymore.
I never thought, like, ever on this show.
I don't have to have, like, I can't even accidentally turn on The View.
I know.
Like, the sight of Joy Behar's face, like, I always, like, that one that they always have on memes of her, like, that's just what she looks like to me forever now. And, like, that's just, it hurts me to, like, even listen to her. Like, why, like, even if it was a 5-second accidental, like, oh, I didn't realize this was ABC or whatever they come on. Like, it's disgusting.
Yeah, and I never thought I'd ever play anything from The View on the show, but this is...
Are you going to play it?
Yeah, it's not like it's a minute. I basically cut out the other stuff. They're talking about some movie or something she's doing, and of course her friends all like, if you kill a fly, she's like crying about it because life is so precious and every little thing. Huh. So you care about the fly, but aborting a baby you don't care about. That's effed up. Now, if you care about both those, okay, sure. But the fly will make you cry. But the 9-week-old baby that you just had an abortion, whatever.
People, like, some people might even miss your point on this, right? But your point is just the hypocrisy of it all.
Right, that you value a fly's life more than a human life.
Right.
That's pretty effed up.
Right.
It's so bad. It's so ridiculous that you kind of question yourself, like, is this freaking real, man?
I don't think that it is. I think
Like-
they do it just to drive people who pay attention and see it nuts. Because the people who are watching The View, they're not picking up on any of that. They're just mimicking. Like, you can't, if you're watching that on purpose and you think you're getting something out of it, like, life is pretty hopeless for you at this point.
They're like a bunch of clapping seals.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh."
Exactly.
Like, no matter what you say, yeah.
I know. So, you know what I mean? So, on one point, it's almost like, I don't know. I just feel bad for everybody.
We have experienced many decades now of having agency over our body, of being able to determine when and how many children to have. We know what that feels like. We know what that's done for our lives. We're not going back. I don't care what the laws are. We're not going back.
I think the women will rise up.
That's the activist
That's Jane.
speaking, and she probably will get a Nobel Prize.
But it's the truth.
Very soon.
It is the truth.
But
We're not going to do it.
Besides
We're gonna fight.
marching and protesting, what else do you suggest?
Well,
it
I
doesn't
thought of
happen
murder.
overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say?
Murder.
She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just
Now,
kidding.
don't say that. That's
Oh,
not-
you don't know. They'll pick up on that and
Yeah,
just run
that's
with
the
it.
worst.
She's just
Joking.
kidding. It's
Well, let me talk to you about. Let's move on and talk about Jane's activism.
Yeah, she'll bail for herself because it's all going to hell.
All I know is it's 10:50 a.m. and the banks haven't all been run on like people were acting like it was going to happen. But is that because they're going to bail it out? They're going to take
Well-
our tax dollars and
Ironically, that's my next story.
is it?
Yeah.
Perfect segue.
Silicon Valley Bank collapses, making the second largest bank failure in U.S. history. And then, of course, everyone's like, Harry and Kate, right? Yeah, Harry and Kate.
So they are going to rescue it, man.
They said they weren't at first.
Why do they keep
they will.
rescuing these things? Let them fail.
Well, if this one
Everybody
fails,
knows.
all these
Everybody
little
knows.
rich people are going to
No, it doesn't matter. The FDIC insures up to,
Yes.
was it 250?
I think it's 250 now.
It's 250.
Yep.
So diversify from banks, rich people.
Yes, and I agree 100%.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
The federal government has to bail out those people
the 250
up
and
to
below.
the 250 and below. Yes,
I'm okay with
100% because
Because we've accepted that.
yes,
That's what FDIC stands for.
Yep.
We didn't fight it whenever they did it, so that's the law.
right. But that's not what's going. They're going to.
They don't need to bail them out because they all took out bonuses and loans. Like they need those. Throw those people in jail. Then talk to me maybe about trying to help out somebody else. But like,
And supposedly
no.
the CEO of this bank is someone they hired based on inclusion and equality and blah 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 blah. So another woke.
No, this was all wokeness. This whole bank.
The whole bank. Yep.
No, see, this is why I watched a good video that said, like going woke, even though this there's go woke, go broke, but
Yeah,
like
everything
with these
shit.
banks and with credit card companies and all that, the government's not going to let them fail. They're going to bail them out because they have to. Like even though they know it's going to make them fail.
Yeah, and they're
Like you and I both know that if you and I started up a company here in Newport, New Hampshire, and our whole thing was about wokeness, it would last for maybe a month.
yeah. No one will bail you
Maybe.
out. No one's going to bail you out.
And no one's going to bail us out
No.
for our bad decisions of instead of focusing on what our business is, we focus on, like going back to the Army, social justice and awareness. If you're not focused on the business at hand, which is winning the nation's wars, you're not going to be able to win the nation's wars if you're all walking around pretending like you can't tell that this is a guy in a dress or a girl in a suit. Right? So you got to play the mental gymnastics because you don't want to offend somebody calling them the wrong gender. Next thing you know, foreign nation starts hitting your supply lines, and you're all worried about making sure you're not offending people. Now they're trying to go back to be all you can be, but it's a little too late for this retired guy. Like, you made your bed, you need to reverse track it more than just switching your logo up. You need to acknowledge that your job is to win the nation's wars and not to be its social experiment.
Yeah, they won't do that though.
Oh, I know they won't, but that's what they should do.
Yeah.
That's what that needs to be done. Or, yeah, the state governments need to go back to doing what they're charged to do.
Yeah, the other point too to make about this whole thing is, remember last week when you talked about, digital IDs and all that, and then like obviously we talked about digital currency for a while because you can kind of tell it's the push they're trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to push it to.
So they're trying to go to that. Yet this bank collapses and loses all these people's money, and you want to put more trust in banks, more trust in the government? Yeah, no, I'm good.
I can't, man. If they
will, they'll bail, and you know why they'll bail that bank out? Because those banks, just like the other companies that they always bail out, have so much money and lobbying into these people to get them elected.
Yeah, well, this one has like 30 startup.
This is Silicon
social experiment companies, and like they're green, so like.
Mm-hmm.
So they all failed, and now we're going to take our tax dollars. But then, at the same time, you'll have people pushing back on like student loans, which I agree. Like, you shouldn't. Like, that's a risk that you took,
the loan
right?
out,
Yeah,
yours.
you know what I mean. Like, I'm not all about that. But here, I'm all of a sudden supposed to be about bailing out these jackasses who couldn't make good financial decisions based on hiring people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep sending money to Ukraine, and now we're gonna send money to this bank to bail them out. Oh, and we're gonna bail out obviously a bunch of millionaires. Is basically what we're gonna do. So, yep, there you go. You're good. Yep. Granted, they won't.
You know how many banks are? This is like the first of many that are going to have issues. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I guess there's actually another bank in New York City that is having the same thing happen.
That they all need to go. We said it a year ago. It will be a struggle and painful, but we need to go back to like a gold, silver-backed currency to where we don't just start printing up money to in debt, enslave other countries who have to pay us back in dollars.
Yeah.
It'd be good for, like, you want to get rid of colonialism and imperialism. Let this bank fall and then let the other ones tumble right behind it. And life will suck for all of us for a while, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, how's it even gonna suck? Like, keep your money in your house.
No, I know, but like, our dollar is not worth $1.
Oh no, not even close. And this will make it worse.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
And
It has to get worse to get better.
Right, and they're already talking about how, you Republicans better approve this, raise the debt ceiling thing, and Biden comes out with a $6-point-something trillion budget.
Like, what the?
And it's full of woke agenda stuff that it's just garbage, like absolute garbage. And
it's sad. People actually like think this whole facade of like Greta Thunberg shaming you as some 16-year-old who has no freaking education background. She's just a puppet for some, whatever her mom and dad's backgrounds or loyalties or whoever they owe. And people are like, oh, like I now granted, most people who think similar to us in the sense of like they get it that she's now she's like 20 or whatever.
Yeah, she's 20.
They keep fake arresting her, trying to make her relevant. Like when they're pushing somebody like this on you as like a spokesperson, Al Gore, like they're all hypocrites. They fly. I can't take it anymore.
In the meantime, they're trying to take farms.
Yeah.
Was it in the Netherlands?
I mean, you don't see all the protests going on worldwide on our news. They won't tell you how the farmers have taken to the roads and most people are behind them.
Yeah, because they like seize 3,000 farms in the name of climate control. Wait, you need to eat. You need to feed the people you have. Farmers, pretty important.
They do that by making you export, and then you have to import wheat from like the U.S. or
yeah,
like we're part of the problem. Like our own policies. And I think that there are liberals that would agree. Like, we just disagree on certain things. Like, I don't want socialized health care. I want, like, an overhaul of the whole health care system. I think we should go more back to holistic, less patented.
But they won't make as much money.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. There's this list of stuff, and like aloe was on it. That
Are they going to ban aloe? Has it got some bacteria that's in my house? Because I have a nice aloe plant. Am I going to give myself away?
supposedly there's
Get my house rated for my aloe?
There's a list of like 20 or something different things that are exactly like that, like aloe, whatever, that they're considering putting on a list or whatever. So that would just opening another door for pharmaceuticals to come in and, you know, give you fake that stuff. Like, seriously, if you're out there and you watch a show and you're like, oh, that's ridiculous,
just look it up.
Look at the freaking pharmaceutical company. So you have the cartels that do all the legal drugs, and then you have the pharmaceutical cartels that do all the legal drugs that the government approves for them, and it's all about money. Money, 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 money. They make trillions of dollars. And
yeah, they've been leaking that about the CIA with their Air America running drugs from Vietnam. Because, you know, Vietnam, they're going to protect our democracy all the way over there. Or was there a big drug trade over there?
Yeah, they got caught.
I mean, I don't base my life on Lethal Weapon, but that was made in 1987, and that pretty much laid out how the CIA operated.
Yeah.
And then that was just a rogue element, right? That was like, well, this is illegal, and the government's doing it. Why can't we do it and cut the government out?
Like every movie you watch, it's similar, right?
Yeah, they're similar. I mean, it's fake, right? But
it comes from somewhere.
Like, yeah, they get, like, our imaginations can run wild or whatever, but
yeah,
also at the same time,
yeah. I mean, they just caught the FBI.
I mean, there's books out about how they ran drugs and, you know, allegedly doing it in Afghanistan, Iraq. It was allegedly the oil.
Yeah, because there's lots of poppies over in Afghanistan, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is interesting. I was shocked at this. I shocked completely. The House voted 419 to nothing to declassify any information possible connection between COVID-19 origins and Chinese lab. The reason I'm amazed by that is that you got that many monkeys in a room to agree on something.
Yeah, that makes me suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Like they're either trying to get rid of someone or they have it to where it's going to lead.
There's something.
You know what I mean? It's going to lead to the wrong or half the alleged parties, or it's going to lead to the ouster of somebody, or
they're talking how,
or, you know, one term somebody, some type of thing. You know, like it just.
Well, they're talking
when
about
they all vote together like that, your spider senses should go up, and then now you need to really be critical because
they never agree on anything.
Yeah,
like it's very nice out. Let's vote that it's nice, and people would vote it's not nice out.
You need to attack them every time they say it's nice out.
Yes.
You push back harder.
Yeah. So supposedly, and we just know this will go nowhere, but supposedly Republicans are ready to refer Fauci to the DOJ for criminal charges for lying to Congress. We just know it won't go anywhere. You know it won't.
Yeah, because what they need
the
to
DOJ
refer,
would have to.
They should refer you for rather than biological weapons program.
That's what
through
should
a pass-through company.
Yep. So, and like I said, we all know nothing.
Eco Biohealth or whatever. I've known about it for like 3 years. Her name or her handle goes. It's like her name is Lauren, but before she got kicked off Twitter, it was some bitch I know. She broke that. She followed that money trail 3 years ago during COVID. Led all the way back to Eco Health. So, like, everything that's, like, starting to come out now, I've known for 3 years because she showed the receipts. All you got to do is
follow the money.
You just follow the money and you show your sources. You cite your sources, and then anybody with a critical eye can do the exact same thing and get the same conclusion.
Yeah. Now it's like they just caught the FBI like erasing,
Data.
on-
Was it video or it was?
It was, I think, both.
Yeah.
And I think this is on the January 6th thing, but like, so you have someone in jail. We have a lot of people in jail. Political prisoners, like you have to be charged before you can be held. That's not happening. And so anyways, QAnon, whatever the hell they call this guy, the guy with the horns or whatever, he got 4 years in prison. Okay? So then the video comes out of the police just escorting him through, which, I mean, I knew that 3 years ago. I watched all this live on TV anyways, and before they really started to try to break it down and make it seem like, it was something it wasn't. So he's in jail, and they broke was it the Brady law, where you have to give all the evidence to the defense? And they didn't do that. So, first of all, this man...
But did you know how they set him up, though, right? So his first lawyer didn't push back, signed a thing, so, like, they can't even challenge it. So, you know how that's how, like, if you watch Law and Order, like, it's over since, like, the 90s when it first started. Now everything's just, they'll act like they can charge you with, a first-degree homicide, but then they'll do you a solid favor, and you only have to do 3 years. You just got to sign this, and then you're like, I didn't do anything, but our evidence shows we can link you to it. So
yeah, it proves that they all lie. And
it doesn't happen all the time, but you know what I mean. Like again, you see it happening on there. You can read about it happening from people saying I felt like I was wronged, or lawyers when they replace other defense lawyers are like, I don't know why they signed this. This is
right. But at this point, that man should have been immediately released from federal custody.
Yeah, as soon as they realized they didn't have all the exculpatory evidence, should have been.
If they want to retry him with all the evidence, that's fine. I'm not saying, now all of a sudden you release him from prison. He did nothing wrong. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is the law wasn't followed, and they not only was it not followed, the FBI covered up stuff.
And they said how violent he was.
Yes. Which is a lie.
When you listen to what he's saying, he's like, he's doing a prayer. He's encouraging everybody to leave. He's reading Trump's tweets. It's like, leave the Capitol immediately.
He's hired fucking people that said, hey, come in and do this little thing. And there's other video, like, there was like this secret passage open, and like they're handing baseball bats out.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like, yep, all right. So that's the FBI, and then these are FBI. Like, if you knew how many FBI agents were there that day, or federal employees, I bet you, like, there was a few bad people there, yes.
Well, even before they release this, you can look at people.
Ray Epps.
Well, Ray Epps, there's the guy who shot the video for CNN, who was an Antifa agitator, who was in the room where everybody was plotting it out, and they opened the window up from the inside. Like, you can see that video. You could see that video 2 years ago.
You could see the cops letting them in, too.
I know, but I'm just saying that specific one.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't like something I saw live. That was like, look at this. And you can look at it, and to me, granted, I know it's not in its whole totality, but then I got issues which makes me have more questions, so I'm not going to immediately jump to conclusions because Anderson Cooper told me that this was a violent uprising, or because they all had the same phrase, every news channel, whatever it was. They had like their little phrase that they propagandized the American people with to make it stick in your craw that it was a violent, whatever it was. I can't remember.
And then they have like this.
It's all smoke and mirrors and tricks.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that people didn't do anything wrong.
No,
January 6th.
Some of them did.
Yes, they need to be punished. Like,
Correct.
you don't tear down barriers and, attack each other or whatever else. And if they're federal agents, they need to be charged too because they're inciting it.
Yeah. You talk about an insurrection, all this. Well, during an insurrection, you don't get a police escort through the building.
Well, it's selective because we mentioned it before. They've had worse attacks on the Capitol.
Yeah, they shot.
More, like, more violent with like bombs and homemade bombs and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, we hire those people now.
Yeah. Oddly enough.
They shot Ashley Babbitt and murdered her. There's more video of that coming out, too.
It's eerily becoming 1984. You have to trust what you're told. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you see.
Yep.
You got to listen to what we're telling you.
But me and you are domestic terrorists because we're telling people they should see the lies that are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is we all have our own biases individually. So that's why you have to all look at it and have an open discussion, because I have a military background. I'm biased towards that. You have a business background. You're biased and understand more from the business aspect. You ride motorcycles. You understand motorcycle culture. I don't. I can sit here and make bad judgments, right?
Sure.
But people.
Right.
But that's why you have open conversation. Once I'm like, so I don't want to hear anything you have to say. You guys have tattoos and you're all a bunch of whatever. Then I have totally discounted what I act like I'm above doing.
Right.
And that's what they do.
Yes. And at that point, you're just a hypocrite and an idiot because you don't even know the information.
Yes, I am an idiot. That's why I need to talk to more people, right? So that I can get the full picture.
Right. No, they released the video, and now I guess they're going to release it to everybody. But then they go after Tucker Carlson. He needs to be pulled off the air. He's a threat to democracy.
Yeah, that's just them flailing, trying to...
it's them panicking like crazy because they know that the narrative's now gone.
I don't know if it's true, but I saw a Project Veritas video that, if it was accurate...
The AOC thing?
Yeah.
Seemed weird.
It seemed weird to me. That's why I don't know that if it's true or not. But if that is true,
yeah,
somebody should put AOC in her place, because you don't call the president by his first name.
I mean, would it surprise me? No, but it's a weird video. Maybe the delay is because of... she was remote, and I don't know. It's
but that's why I'm
it's weird.
I don't know that it's real or not. My spider senses are up.
Yeah, it's kind of not
and
sure.
O'Keefe is gone from Project Veritas, or was that an older?
Well,
that was censored.
He said that video is what got him removed from Project Veritas. That video, because they didn't want them showing it.
Well, because Nancy's it's not even that big of a deal.
Yes. So.
And then she's like, I was scared for my life. And
so that kind of
Biden's allegedly saying, let the men in the room talk. Sweetie, shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about.
So the fact that O'Keefe was removed and basically thrown out of his own company over that video that then he released makes me think that video is probably true. Because if not, why get rid of him for it?
Because he also had the Pfizer thing where they're admitting to...
He's going after all these people hard.
Gain of function.
Yep.
Allegedly.
So, I don't know.
It's interesting, but you can't get the whole story by censoring any side of a story. No matter, you have to hear the things that you don't want to hear. It's hard sometimes, but you have to let Nancy Pelosi finish her paragraph of rambling thoughts before turning it off, so that you can hear everything that she says. Even though, I hear it and I'm and people are probably like that about Trump too, right? I get it, because sometimes you're just shut up, man.
A lot of times. I listened to him once.
Stop talking. You've got the high ground. Your policies are winning. But he likes to rub it in people's faces. So that's him. So whatever.
I was on
it's annoying
trip with my grandfather there. I don't know, one of the times I went down south 2 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago now, I guess. But Trump was on Fox, and so I was listening to it. It was at night, and it went on for an hour maybe. It was pretty long. I was like, dude, 15 minutes in, you could have ended the conversation and been better, because the more he talks, he's just kind of more arrogant or whatever.
But that's how everybody is. So not necessarily arrogant, but the more you talk, that's how you can find out about how much you really do or don't know about something, is to just let somebody keep talking.
Yeah, because they're going to dig a hole.
That was always my thing, in the Army. It's if you're you're primarily, you do sewage and sewage repair, right? Or propane and propane accessories.
Right, whatever you're doing, yeah.
You don't talk about the steak that you're cooking with the propane. You talk about the propane, all the parts, because once you start talking about, or the grill metal, right, you're going to start telling on yourself, because you don't really understand metal.
Yeah.
You don't understand the cut of meat, per se, if you weren't a chef. But, that's why I'd always tell everybody, stick to what you know, because the second you veer off, they're going to say, and then, right? They don't have to say much to keep you, and then all they're doing is like, you really don't know what you're talking about. And you might have known everything about propane when you started. You might be the most knowledgeable propane person on earth, but once you veer from talking about propane,
Right.
you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, that's my 2 cents.
So,
That's what I learned in the Army, is keep your mouth shut if you don't know what you're talking about. And don't get me wrong, that's from personal mistakes, right? Like noticing, like, I should have stopped talking at paragraph C. Should have ended it with, what are your questions?
they kept going on and on and
Yeah.
on, and everybody just wrecked the whole
But, you know,
thing.
like, it's awkward silence, and then you're like, do I need to keep talking? And then you do, and then you're like, why am I still talking? I obviously know nothing of what I'm talking about anymore.
Your brain's trying to tell you to shut up.
They're
but you're
looking
just like-
at you, and they're like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And you know that's what, anyway.
So,
My experience.
it's kind of ironic to tell this another story here. It's Mexican president may launch anti-Republican propaganda aimed at Hispanic U.S. voters because so the president of Mexico is saying that fentanyl isn't made in Mexico. And what's funny is Chief was on Friday with us, and fentanyl is made in China, but then it's sent to Mexico where it's produced to like a heroin type substance and then is brought into the United States. So the in between China and the United States is Mexico.
So they're the middleman.
Yes, they're the middleman, and apparently it's upsetting the Mexican president that Republicans are saying this. Obviously, the border crisis isn't upsetting to him. The fentanyl isn't upsetting. The drug trafficking, the cartels, none of that's upsetting to him, apparently. But you say that, and that's upsetting to him.
Yeah, it's classic. That's like a fact checker. Technically, it's not made in Mexico. Oh, but it
Right.
still flows through Mexico.
Right.
So the gist of it is
Partially misleading information. Wait, what?
mostly false.
Mostly false, yes.
It's actually made in China, shipped overseas on U.S. container ships, probably. Actually, they're not. We don't have that many because of our taxes. So they're all flagged out of other countries, but you get my point.
Crazy. Like, and then I got one of the Mexican story that, remember last week we talked about how the cartel had like killed 2 Americans and like 2 were injured and got back, and then it's interesting, I guess, in a way, I don't know, but the Mexican drug cartel apologizes to the American families, and then allegedly they turned over 5 men that were responsible for the mistake, as they call it, and they legit did. There's like a video or whatever of 5 cartel members tied up.
Well, probably because they don't want to get the ire of.
They don't want the U.S. government coming after them. And I've already said that, too. Like, when I was on cruises and stuff, I'm like, listen, as far as the safety in the country, because depending on the country you go, it's like, am I safe here or not? But for the most part, they don't want anything to happen to a tourist. If something happens to a tourist, in a lot of countries, especially like Caribbean countries, without tourism, they would all die. Like, legit. Like, there's no income. There's no, like, all their income comes from tourism. So, usually, if there's, like, there was one country I was in, like, if you robbed a tourist, like, they throw you in jail for, like, 7 years or something. And the funny thing about that jail is, if you don't have family there to feed you because the jail doesn't feed you, well, there's just going to be a skeleton in that cell in 7 years because, like, that's it. Like, and it's to deter people from robbing tourists because that industry, if you hurt that industry, like the whole country suffers. So
Interesting.
my guess is this is similar. The cartels are like, wait, if we start to hurt tourism, this will wake up the Mexican government to say, hey, because Mexico makes hundreds of millions or billions or whatever a year off of tourism, obviously. So interesting for the cartels. Like, here are the 5 guys responsible. Of course, they don't care. Like, Mexican government executes those people. They don't care. Ain't nothing to them.
It's
Crazy.
sad, man.
It is sad. It's
I think human life is so valuable.
and you feel bad for the Mexican people, like, living under this.
Yeah.
Not only do you have a corrupt government, but then you live with all these cartels. And, a lot of people...
Is it as bad as we think it is over there? Probably.
I think so. It's probably worse.
I mean, I have no desire to like leave America. Like I love America.
I tell Angie that all the time now. Like I used to, like I love
Like
traveling.
you've been all over the world. Like you've seen it all. But I have no desire. I can look at a picture in a book or on the internet. Like yeah,
Like
cool.
I love cruises and that, but then like we were supposed to go to Mexico in April for some like an all-inclusive thing, and then I saw this. I was like, no, it's like it's not happening. I was kind of on the border about it, like on the wall, like fence about it before or whatever.
No pun
And I was
intended.
like, yeah, no pun intended. But I was like, yeah, no, not happening. Nope.
Crazy.
It's just
Sad.
it is sad. It's just
Like I don't know how we got to this point in the world where human life doesn't mean as much anymore. Like,
well, when the United States isn't that superpower like it has been,
has it ever really, or has it
Well-
just been a?
it doesn't stand for like
No, I know what you're saying.
yeah. There's so much instability everywhere that like all the people coming to America, 1,000 people went towards a bridge yesterday, and it's funny. Look at these people, like nice clothes and all this, and it's only happening because Joe Biden's policy is just like yeah, whatever. Well, why are
Well,
they
think about all the
escaping their
free stuff
country?
they get.
Exactly. We don't come here and automatically get
Well, it dilutes our culture, right? So it's getting harder and harder to lock down.
right. What's American? What's
Well, it's like over in Scotland, you have somebody that's clearly not of Scottish heritage talking about how there's too many white Scottish people. Like, but that's like their island. You know what I mean? Like, I got no skin in that game, other than I think I have some Scottish heritage, but I think that the audacity of that. Could you imagine going to Mexico and be like, you got too many brown people, that's your problem?
Can you imagine going to Africa and be like, hey, there's too many black people here.
Like, it's wrong
And that's not okay.
everywhere. Like,
Yes.
everybody should have the tools to be successful. I'm all about free energy.
Why are we looking at the skin color of people anyways?
Exactly.
I thought we weren't supposed to do that.
Well, we were good. We were almost past that, and I'm pretty sure you can tie it all back to your favorite president, 2008.
You know, I said that one time and got ran up one side and down the other.
I
way.
can imagine, but
John
but do you?
You can't believe racist on a black person. Like, oh no. Before that, it was pretty good, and then
Like
He got
by
involved.
good, what I mean is like things were getting better. Like you
Better,
weren't
yes. Yeah.
thinking about it, but then you
wasn't-
had the whole summit with the cop and the Harvard professor. I can't remember where it was for college, but I just remember thinking, how fake and lame is that? You know what I mean? Like there's nothing organic about it. It was like it was creating more of a divide. Like it should be. There was a mistake made. Let's move past it.
And think about it, if anything-
pay a correction. I'm all about like
Right.
monitor. Like you stress somebody out, like, and now they have a fear of somebody breaking in their door and they didn't do anything wrong. Like you need to compensate them. Be like, you have changed their psychology. White, it doesn't matter what color they are. Just like if you get swatted, if you don't do your job, and you're getting a call coming in, and you're going and swatting a house, and you do that, like, that person needs to be compensated for you overreacting and launching an entire SWAT team onto their house. If you didn't look in with some night vision goggles,
yeah,
some infrared goggles, you didn't have all this military grade equipment that we allegedly stockpiled the police departments with. You know what I mean? Like,
But that's your,
two people are sleeping in their bed. Go ahead and bust the door down.
yeah. And then that's the question I'd ask too. So if you're a black American, what did Obama do for you to make your life better? As a black American, not just as American, you can say, well, he passed this policy and my life was better. No, like, what did he do? Because
Well,
if anything,
I mean, so I can answer some of that, right? So there's hope, right? That there's like it's not all just old white men.
broke through. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I
like-
agree with that. He broke through a barrier that.
Yeah, so there's no more barriers. Like that's to me the ultimate is how can you say that we're a country led on racism when we elected a black president?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like it's a lie.
Black Supreme Court justices.
No, but I mean, it's a lie that they tell you
Right.
that even though you can see with your eyes that no, it's like he's president.
Yeah. Right. President of the United States. Yeah.
So if this were a racist country, he wouldn't be president
Correct.
because the largest voting population is still white for until 2050 or whatever, right? Like allegedly. Whatever the numbers are that they say. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking in stats. I'm not talking or acting like there's any different. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying statistically speaking.
Sure.
You win with that, then, like, there's not systemic racism anymore that's keeping.
And he had the
highest office in the land.
And he had the highest votes.
That's not to say that it doesn't exist out there. I've seen it firsthand, and it's disgusting. So I know that there are pockets out there.
Yes.
But overall, to act like every day is a struggle because people like me and you exist who dare to say that, from my perspective, it looks to me as if we broke down, and that was like the last barrier to show that anybody will become president. If anything, now, like, you know, when a woman's elected, definitely. Right. What else is there, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have a woman vice president. That's another barrier. Black woman at that. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's crazy. It just.
I don't act like I know all the answers. I'm just telling you from my perspective.
And it's complicated, of course, but.
Right? Like, I lived all over the country.
But that man was supposed to be a uniter, and he was not a uniter. He was a divider.
I don't think he. I think it started off trying to unite, and that might have been where, like, the whole, you know, sit down a beer in a park together, whatever, talk about your differences stemmed from.
Yeah, because on his second term, when he was running for re-election, he didn't have the support of Oprah or anything at that point, I don't believe.
Really?
I don't believe so. I think his second term. And that was, let's talk about, because Michelle didn't like the friendship they had or something, supposedly. I don't know.
Really? I don't know anything about that. So that's all Tim's allegedly's over there.
Yeah.
But just to me, like, you can't on one hand say that this is a racist country when there was a black man elected president. Like, you can say there is racism in this country, and I'll agree with you.
Sure, I will too, 100%. I've seen it. But
like, on all sides too, by the way. It's not just
yeah, definitely.
You know, but so I don't know. Like,
that's what
but like once that happened, like, we should have, like, that should have been a moving forward, like, propel us into the future of stop all that nonsense. Look at this. Yes, there are pockets, and we'll get rid of it through, you know,
they'll generation itself out.
Generation itself out, because everybody will see that we're all getting along and we can all do everything that everybody can do everything equally to their skill set.
Right. It's like people said to me, "Oh, you have white privilege because you're not black and life's easier for you," and I like nothing.
There are things that you haven't experienced that black people probably have, but that does not mean that your life is easy. It's like that just totally discounts every struggle that you had.
Right.
And that's the issue with it. And they people who say that don't realize you're doing what you're acting like I'm doing.
Right.
You're minimizing the hard work that I did to get to where I am.
Right. And I mean,
the sleepless nights, the, you know, going without food or eating ramen for 2 weeks to survive, you know, because life sucks for everybody sometimes. Like, it happens to doesn't matter.
The only thing
your
I
religion, your sexuality, none of that. Everybody has a struggle at some point, unless they're born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And those are usually the ones that will criticize you the most, because the second and third generations that haven't ever done anything for their wealth.
Yeah, we're about to bail them out. So,
yeah, exactly. With our money.
That's the only thing I would say.
They want me to keep paying taxes, and they're bailing out these people, and they're telling soldiers to go get on food stamps.
Yep. But the only thing, Steve, the only thing I could say about this privilege thing we talked about before, and I'd say it again, was I've never been pulled over in this country and ever thought for a second, I might get shot or something. And that is a real thing for a lot of black people in this country, or minorities in general. I hate saying minorities because it's like, I don't know, but brown people, black people, like, that's
it's not a shared experience, but
yes.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think I'm going to get shot.
Right. I know.
I
you're a
have
little
been
more-
boxed in before. That's stressful. My armpit sweat. I've had bad experience. Everybody
Right.
has a bad experience. Not everybody, but bad experience isn't just to one. But I agree with you that
Right.
there's enough stories out there, and it's hyped up so much that I would be nervous too.
And I also would say too, like, history showed us as well that
I'm not discrediting.
it's not just black people get pulled by a white cop. No, it's black people getting pulled over by the cops in general.
Yeah, any cop.
Because the black cops, some of them, right, are just as bad as some of these white cops we've seen on TV that have done stuff that was
And
like,
by bad, you mean just bad at their job.
bad at yeah, exactly, bad at your job.
Profiling, making
Yeah,
assumptions.
profiling, escalated.
I mean, doing things like writing and getting your registration blocked.
Right,
But you know what I mean? I mean, that happened to a white guy.
right. If that was a black guy, it'd be a much
It'd be
bigger thing,
even,
right?
yeah.
Then should it be? No,
It should
'Cause
be
it's
bad
equally
for
as
equal,
bad.
yeah.
But oftentimes, though, in this country, that's what we'd. Oh well, no.
It's even worse, but it's bad. It's bad. Period. I guess, as people say these days.
And then the whole thing is like, okay, so this does happen to black people.
And there are bad things. Again, because you're going to get somebody's going to hear everything that we're saying, not discounting that bad things don't happen.
No, what makes me mad is the fact that it happens, and I'm like, okay, well, how do we make it not happen? Because it's not okay. It's not okay for a person to be like, oh, if I get pulled by the cops, how will that go?
You shouldn't have that fear. It should be
You
like
should never have that fear.
it should be like, oh, they caught me speeding.
Now, if you got, pound of drugs in kilo, I guess, we don't use pounds, in the back seat, and you get pulled by the cops, yeah, you're going to be nervous. That doesn't matter what color your skin is.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be scared, and you're going to be in deep shit.
Yeah, because they're going to be able to sense your tension.
Exactly. But if you...
Unless you're a psychopath or sociopath. Sociopath, they're the ones that don't have any emotions, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, but if you didn't turn your direction light on and get pulled over and you're black, you shouldn't be thinking, oh, I might not get to go see my kids today because I, didn't use the directional light. That's not okay.
Yeah.
And that we need to fix. And I don't know, I don't have the answer exactly, but being smarter, making smarter decisions as police officers, right? We're very fortunate here because we have
I saw the cops were out in full force last night. They're hiding behind signs.
That's normal.
I know, I hadn't seen them down there in a while.
Yeah.
And then a couple people pulled over.
He was actually there again today when I was...
Was he?
He has actually pulled somebody over. Yeah, whatever. But it has to change. And it goes back to the thing you say all the time. Treating people with dignity and respect.
Yeah, you don't have to like somebody, but you can be like, hey, how are you?
Yeah. We all profile people. We all do. You see
have
someone
to.
walking down the road and...
It's a mechanism that keeps you alive.
Exactly.
You figure that out as a child. You mimic and you like, oh, wow. Mom, you starts with your mom or dad. Mom or dad looks like this or says this, has this tone. This is what I can start to expect, and then you want to avoid that. So if you see that tone, how can you prevent it from escalating to the next level? I don't know if that's psychology 101 or what, but it's normal. It was normal. And now they try to make you think you're crazy if you're normal.
Yes. Yeah. The more normal you are, then apparently crazy, and you have to watch out for you. But the one dressing in women's clothes and reading stories to your children, you're not worried about that person. Yeah, okay. Crazy ass people. All right, last little thing I had is, well, two things technically, I guess, but Joe Biden is seriously trying to rewrite history by falsely claiming Republicans, not Democrats, want to defund the police. In reality, Democrats spent 2 years pushing soft on crime and defund the police. And it all comes back to a lot of Republicans are saying this now, and I 100% support it, is we should abolish the FBI because it's become politicized, and it's...
So he's conflating abolish the FBI with defund the police?
Yep.
Two totally different things. There were riots for an entire...
summer.
Yeah.
The whole summer. Cities burnt, the whole thing, and it was all defund police, defund police, defund police.
Yeah, and I remember there were even in some cities where they did it, and then the first people to complain were the liberal, because they may not even have been Democrats, they could have been socialists, because it's out there in Seattle. But so the leftist politicians were like, I need an escort. Maybe we did too much, swung the pendulum too far.
And I think Seattle just closed like its last Walmart. They closed
Portland.
Portland,
I think it was
one of
Portland.
them. And it's the same thing. Like you couldn't, California, Washington, and Oregon. You couldn't pay me to you live there, go there in general.
No, I'll stick to the southeast, southwest.
Yeah.
Go as far as
Can you imagine
Utah,
the
maybe?
poor people that live there that don't agree with this stuff? That closed that Walmart, the last Walmart here, because they just kept stealing everything, and there's no punishment for crime out here. And they all just it's fine, this is what we're going to do.
How brainwashed must you be to think it's okay to...
Complete anarchy. I was we have all these laws in this country, but then at the same time, it's kind of...
Well, I don't even know that it's anarchy, because anarchy would be freedom, and then freedom would then be that shop owner will take matters into his or her own hands to protect their merchandise. I'm not advocating anarchy, but you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is...
anarchy lasts as long as, until the first person stands up that's got more power and says, oh, I'm in control now.
Yeah, exactly.
So... it's just nuts. We keep talking about perspective, what it must be like for people that live in Texas that are dealing with the border thing, people that live on the West Coast that are dealing with all the stuff they got to deal with, which is all social woke, go broke, go woke, go broke. That's all it is. All self-inflicted.
All the movies are failing.
Yeah.
That bank that shit fell had a lot of woke startups and companies invested with them. A lot of people had money in that bank.
We're going to bail them right out, though, Steve.
I don't understand. Everybody knows they only insure up to a certain amount.
Right.
So why wouldn't you spread it out through different banks? If you're an individual.
Right.
Because you would think most rich people would have theirs hidden in offshore accounts. Allegedly.
Something. But then again, they're so big, what, would you think a bank would fail?
I would.
Yeah, now I would, for sure. I mean, I
wouldn't... if my bank started sending me stuff about wokeness and environmental and switching this to that and going green and linking this card to my wallet and everything else, that bank would be gone in an instant.
Yeah, it's a big red flag.
Yeah. I haven't gotten that from my bank, luckily. I did pull out a few $100 yesterday just in case there was some big I didn't realize they were going to bail them out. In a just world, and we've said that months ago, we're talking about something else, let it fail. That's
exactly.
You took a risk. Sorry, we all, if the government signed off on it, too bad. Now you all need to get fired because whenever our lives suck, we'll fire you for letting this happen.
There's all these antitrust, anti-everything laws that protect monopolies, okay? So, for instance, Dartmouth Hospital, it owns everything now. So in that sense, yeah, it can't fail because if it does, the health of New Hampshire and Vermont, and maybe even further, what are we going to do? We're just all going to die with heart attacks because there's no more hospitals? But there are laws that are supposed to protect that it never should have got that big, but the government lets them get big. It lets them do it.
Yeah, they just keep absorbing.
Utilities are supposed to be public traded. It's supposed to be this whole free market thing. Really? I can get Eversource and nobody but Eversource because that's how that works. Oh, but you can go on. It used to be this New Hampshire Works, New Hampshire Power, something like that. And then, do you know what happened? Eversource just up the delivery fee, which is half your bill, and you still paid the money. Like, you're not getting out of paying it. So the government, same with this bank. I'm going to bail them out. They're too big to fail. No, they're not. See ya.
I think our electric companies are going to be getting a lot more phone calls come this summer when the days where people have to plug in their air conditioners.
Yeah.
You know, because like mine is $500
My bill is
almost $600 this month.
$700.
And in winter, I'm used to paying I save money on my electricity, and I can invest it in. You know, usually it's a couple $100 difference between summer and winter.
Yep.
So if that's the case, if it's almost $600 now, what's it going to be in August? $900, $1,200.
Yeah, Andrew said ours was $700 last month, which makes no sense because the month before was like $389, which was really low. It was like, really low. That's ridiculously high, but compared to where it's been, she's like, well, we were gone for like 10 days. And I'm like, yeah, but your mom and uncle are still there. And like, stuff was being done. Like, yeah, okay, not as many TVs or whatever, but to change that much, like, I don't know.
Crazy.
It is crazy. I don't know. It's nuts. All right, so tomorrow, voting, 8 to 7. The weather is going to be crappy from what I hear, so plan accordingly. Please come out, vote, support the budget. Vote for me and Jenna, which is the least of the budget's the big thing. Default's 87 cents. The proposed budget's $1.87 or 85, so it's 98-cent difference. It's really important. It really is, and I get it. Everyone's bills are going up and everything. It's like, what are we gonna do if it doesn't pass? And I don't have an answer to that. I'm like, repair contracts won't happen, which there's nothing we can do about that. If that fails, then it's like we need to pass. Like, and then hopefully some relief will come from the state with these lawsuits and stuff. To actually, they'll start doing their job, funding education, so that towns like ours aren't suffering, and then these other towns are like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Again, appreciate John Lund.
Yeah,
even though he'll disagree with 90% of what we probably said today.
Right.
I do appreciate him on the lawsuit, and the Huberts, Kathy.
Yeah.
Really been working hard.
And all of his,
on behalf of the town, out of their own time and dedication. And
honestly, opening themselves up, too, because we've seen it plenty of times where you speak out against, the government, and next thing is things happen. And you're like, wait, why can't I register that?
Yeah. So even though, like you said, he would call, he would probably, if he watches this, would text us or email you and correct you. At the same time, appreciate it, John. Like,
absolutely.
Taking,
because that's something that'll help.
The interest in the, I'm pretty sure there's also monetary involvement as well. If he's not donating money, he's donating money through his time and
right, absolutely,
effort on behalf of the town, and
I'm
nothing in it other than hopefully a better benefit for the students, for him and Kathy. So, again, appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Doug Ring, sponsoring the show. He'll probably be busy, I'm sure, the next day here with his snowstorm. So, if you do get stuck, reach out to Doug and he can pull you out, or God forbid if you have an accident, same thing, he can help you with that stuff. He's helped me.
And be safe, because it's going to be, about 12 inches, I think?
I'm saying 12 to 18, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It could change, obviously, but it looks pretty promising that that's kind of the situation. So, luckily, kids don't have school tomorrow because it would be a snow day, I'm sure, anyways. But, stay safe either way. Please come out and vote. If you can't, like I said, call the town office. I think you can get the absentee ballot today. Fill it out.
Yeah, by the time you watch this, you'll have about an hour.
That's true. That's true. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll be back on Wednesday. As of tomorrow, we'll be at the voting all day for our obligations as school board members. But we'll talk to you on Wednesday. Have a good one.
Artlist.io